I think a lot of people saw last week I was in court with the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office, and that definitely would not have happened without my next guest. Welcome back to the show, Ken Silva. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Always good to be with you.
It always is good to have you. And for people who maybe haven't seen you before, Ken, you are the editor of Headline USA. People can follow you on X at JD Cashless. You've been doing incredible work digging into the facts and details of the Thomas Crooks autopsy and various details. I mean, you guys cover a lot of stuff on headlineusa.com, but one of your areas of specialty has certainly been the Trump assassination attempts, and you've got some amazing new reporting for us this week. What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, well, we can go in a number of different directions, but I broke about three or four stories since the last time we talked, but I think none tops apparent anomalies that we found in the toxicology report that I obtained, last October. That was the first time I was on your show. So, what, like 8 months ago, 9 months ago now. Well, I was just notified by a random anonymous Twitter account about maybe a week or two ago that the toxicology report apparently does not include findings for several specimens that are listed. So, yeah, Jason, you have the toxicology report open. You can see at the top of page one, it says specimens submitted, and then there's items 1 through 8. We got a couple of vials of blood, a vial of urine, some eye fluid, bile, and an envelope of evidence classified as hair. Uh, when you go to the findings, it's 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. So they're not including results for items 3, which is another vial of blood. They're not including results for the bile, and they're not including results for the hair. So whether these specimens were tested and not included in the report, or whether they weren't tested at all, we don't know. But we know that they took specimens from a body, and presumably they might even have these specimens still, and we don't have any findings. Particularly of note, listeners might know bile and hair is very good for testing drugs. It's better than blood. The compounds last longer and they would show up at higher levels. So we really need to see these bile tests and hair for potential, psychotropic drugs, to be frank.
Right. I mean, this is also just so weird, Ken, because there have been all these questions about this autopsy from the beginning. I mean, this is what I'm there in court asking them about. Just tell us how you figured out that this guy was even Thomas Crooks. You helped me get to the original reporting from the Washington Post, I believe it was, that told us that the FBI just showed up at his father's house and said, hey, we decided it was your son because the rifle that he had on the roof was a serial number that traced back to you. It doesn't sound like any kind of forensic examination into determining who the dead guy is.
Yeah, they claim to use facial recognition, and I think the night, so the around midnight on July 13th, that first press conference, the FBI special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh office, Kevin Rojek, also said, I'm pretty sure he mentioned something about analyzing DNA, which observers quickly remarked that like you're not going to be able to do a DNA test that fast, even if you're an FBI crime lab. So yeah, I think the initial identification rests largely on supposed facial recognition. We haven't gotten any kind of original report or analysis that was conducted that night. Like we need, presumably a facial recognition test would have Crooks's photo ID matched with the face on the roof or something like that. And we don't have any kind of report from the FBI to that end.
Not, not only that, but any kind of facial recognition, I think, would have to come into question right now because unfortunately, we can't look at this stuff in the format that we're in right now. So I do want to remind people, Ken, you and I are going to be doing a sponsor exclusive video right after this. So people are going to want to stay with us. They can join us on substack.com/@KenSilva. Also on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Also for my subscribers on X at JG_CSTT. But of course, the facial recognition photo that the Beaver County ESU wants us to believe they used was this completely not acceptable facial recognition photo of a guy on the roof with his teeth shot out, blood all over his face, a 3/4 view, lots of stuff in the background. In my lawsuit against the medical examiner, I pointed to that evidence. This was also in my right to know action with the Beaver County ESU. I point out that the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the same people who calculated the implosion of Building 7, they point out that a facial recognition photo, it's like at the airport. They want you to take your baseball hat off, take your glasses off. It's got to be a clear, evenly lit picture of your face with no distracting background. Any of those type of additional interference elements, like blood all over the guy's face and his eyes closed and not looking into the camera, make the photograph unsuitable for facial recognition. So how would they have identified the subject on the roof with facial recognition?
Yeah, again, I think we would need the actual analytical report, presuming that one exists. Yeah, you mentioned that Detective Gianvito took the photo and supposedly sent it for some reason, I think, to like the Philadelphia ATF office. I mean, yeah, none of this makes sense. And again, I don't know why we're one of the only ones to be asking these questions. This is coming on the heels of Donald Trump, I think 2 days ago, said the FBI told me there was no anomalies in this case, and I believe them. Senator Rand Paul closed the investigation of the Senate Homeland Security Committee that had open throughout the first half of this year over the objections of his colleagues, including the Democrat Gary Peters. So I don't know what Rand Paul's doing either, but it's just all very bizarre.
Now, the other thing is you had some evidence here about text messages from the ATF. So there's even more information coming out in that regard. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. And this is another anonymous Twitter account. You got to credit these guys. They're doing some yeoman's work. I don't consider myself any kind of expert. I just try to get the evidence, file the records requests, and put the information out there for people to do their own work. In this case, I think the Twitter account's Piper at Piper something. She found ATF text messages between some of the local cops, like on July 12th, saying, "Hey, I got a text message from a buddy who's saying the ATF is asking how to get in the site the next day." And the locals are like, "Well, why aren't they asking Secret Service about this? Like, why are they going through us?" The next day, of course, we know from interview transcripts that a Secret Service agent, I think the site counterpart, Dana Dubray, was backstage, and she sees some Trump supporters kind of leaning up against a bike rack. And a man apparently in plain clothes says, "Hey, we're afraid that bike rack's about to fall over." And Dubray says, "Well, who are you anyways?" And the guy says, "Oh, I'm with the ATF." And Dubray never questioned that. She's like, "Okay, well, that's odd," but she didn't ask for his credentials. And then it comes out later that this ATF guy was there without the knowledge of the Secret Service. And the ATF will simply say he was there in his, quote, personal capacity, even though he was there backstage for some reason. The Senate Homeland Security Committee, Ron Johnson has subpoenaed the FBI. That's great, but he really needs to issue a subpoena to the ATF because they've got their fingerprints all over this case. And yeah, we need answers. So I've said that like 5 times already in 10 minutes, but it's just, what else is there to say?
I mean, I agree with you that it was very strange to hear Donald Trump say that he was satisfied with the investigation. It almost felt like a nail in the coffin of any further, certainly any in-depth investigation. He just wants to move forward focusing on success, leave any kind of failure or even question in the rearview mirror.
Well, I never knew that I would be such a fan of Senator Ron Johnson. I don't agree with his voting record, but he seems to be kind of like Grassley, where like their votes are bad, but they do some good oversight work. And he has subpoenaed the FBI, and they have till August 1st to give him a trove of evidence, including security footage from a business called, I think, King Cones. It's an ice cream shop behind the AGR building, and that's the
Oh,
camera.
I went there.
Oh, you did? Okay, nice. How's the
Yeah.
ice cream?
You know what? I got the impression that it was going to be like locally sourced from Butler, Pennsylvania, cows and all that, but it was just sort of like artificial ice cream. So I didn't eat anything there.
Well, did you get a chance to check out the cameras? Because apparently they had a
It's
clear view of the
close.
AGR
It's
building.
close. It
And
definitely like was walking from the whole Butler site to my car, and it was right there.
yeah, and a Google Earth image shows that it has a pretty clear vantage. At the very least, at some point, it would have shown, who Crooks, the kid, Uric, whoever we think this guy is, walking around. There was a Mars City councilman named Bradford Price actually filed a lawsuit against the Pennsylvania State Police for body cam footage of the same area. He says that he saw a quote, young man walking, open carrying a rifle with several other men walking closely behind. And that's in the same era at 3:50, around like 3:30, 3:50 p.m. So this camera would have that. And again, Senator Johnson has subpoenaed this. The FBI is until August 1st to respond. I hope Johnson has some cojones and sticks to this and is willing to go to the mat, because I don't have a feeling that the FBI is just gonna uh, fork this over without a fight.
Yeah. And, when we started on the ATF, I guess it's a little bit, I think AGR is, yeah, right there. And
Oh
the
yeah.
ice cream place is right over here. Yeah. And it's a big open road. There's not too much. There's a pizza place and this U-Haul thing. And there's a lot of parking lots. These different businesses were selling parking spaces. And I was parked in one of them and just stopped at the ice cream place on the way back to the car. But
Hmm.
Ron Johnson is also the first guy to even say anything about the ATF. He
Hmm.
told Maria Bartiromo, like the next day, that this picture had been texted to the Philadelphia ATF.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, again, shout out to Senator Johnson. So he first came on my radar, I think in 2021 when he issued a letter about another topical issue at Jeffrey Epstein. And at the time I'm like, oh, who is this Ron Johnson guy? One of the only men in Congress who's willing to even write a letter about this. So yeah, I don't know much about him, but he apparently seems to be good about at least a few things.
Yeah. And so, I mean, after he mentioned that, that was what prompted me. We'll play this during the sponsor exclusive segment because I seem to have it posted with a lot of pictures of the exploded face. But, when I did my right to know with the Beaver County ESU, and I mean, again, it had to be a mistake, but they sent me that unredacted stuff with all the phone numbers. I called this ATF agent, and we'll listen to it. Well, I guess we could listen to it here. There's nothing on that. You've heard that call, right, Ken?
Yeah.
But it's good for people to hear if they haven't heard it because, I mean, again, this isn't necessarily definitive proof of anything, but it is quite suspicious. It's a series of texts that I sent to this guy. Basically, let's give a listen to this. We'll take it back to the beginning here. Ask him if I can talk to him. Tell him it's Jason. Jason who? He wouldn't answer the first call.
Hmm.
Hello.
Hey, I'm trying to talk to you about this Photoshop image of Max Urich dead on the roof of American Glass Research. You were the guy who retouched it, right? Thanks for the confirmation. Wrong number. I don't think so, smart guy. See you in Congress. Bad Photoshop skills, by the way. But Ken, I mean, you heard the sound in the background. That's a guy who's in some kind of law enforcement dispatch. You could hear the people talking and radios beeping and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. And who this guy might be, the name mentioned in the text messages released by Piper is Robert Mclennon. And we could jump right into this. You could look up that guy's LinkedIn. It's very intriguing. He worked before the ATF, he was with the Department of Energy. And that means he had like a top secret security clearance. And I
Whoa.
haven't heard, I'm not a ATF expert, but I've never heard from somebody jumping from nuclear security in the DOE to the ATF to make, run-of-the-mill gun cases in Pittsburgh. Very interesting. And the ATF won't produce this guy for interviews to Congress. They won't disclose any information about him. So
Wow.
the implications are unclear, but, it's bizarre.
That is. See, I hadn't gone that far. I see that. Wow. Excellent work there, Ken. See, I was a little suspicious of these unknown accounts, but when you go and corroborate it, this is what I love about you, man, the gumshoe aspect. Look at that. So we've got Robert McLennan. The name came up from the unknown text message, but here is Robert McLennan working in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania special agent with the ATF. Wow.
Oh, and so he had a profile picture the last time I saw. I actually reached out. I contacted him the other day
Oh,
and I asked, all these anonymous accounts, these researchers believe that you're the ATF agent on the ground in Butler. And he didn't delete his account, but it looks like he took down his picture,
that's
uh,
interesting.
which is interesting because Piper believes that it's this guy he's got a backpack with antennas sticking out of it. I mean, this sounds like crazy conspiracy stuff, but like, what was he doing with the backpack with antennas sticking out?
I
What's
saw
going
that
on?
guy with the backpack and the antennas, and I had presumed that that was Rafael Eduardo Castro because the antennas could be used to control, counter UAS drones, but maybe it's this guy. Did
Well,
you screen
Castro,
capture this picture?
uh, the picture of the guy in with the antennas, Piper, that should be on one of Piper's recent tweets. Hopefully you could find it. I screen grabbed his whole LinkedIn, so I have his LinkedIn profile picture. I don't know if it's the same guy or not, but the fact that he's mentioned in the text message, he is a Pittsburgh ATF agent, and it's somewhat of a resemblance.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so Castro, from what I understand, reading all the interview transcripts, he was in the security room the whole time. He had been by the stage, but he supposedly couldn't get the drone detection equipment to work, so he went in the security room, was there when the shots were fired, stayed there in the aftermath to help coordinate the response. People think that's McLennan. I don't know.
Wow. Ken, this is huge.
It is huge. Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And I'm a little nervous. Like we're the only people looking into this. Like why we need some support from Congress. I don't.
It doesn't seem to be coming. I mean, again, there's all these things. We've got Epstein. We've got now Obama being accused of treason. It just seems like this is, like I said, it's sort of in the rear view mirror. It's really unbelievable. I mean, certainly if somebody tried to kill me and then I became the most powerful law enforcement guy in the country, I would definitely dig into it. But there's more stuff on the medical examiner, isn't there, that we haven't completed yet?
I was just about to mention that. So if we haven't gotten spicy enough, let's talk about Ariel Goldschmidt.
Right.
Uh, it should be, but that one tweet where I'm like, if you only knew how bad things are, I have an article right underneath that is what I'm referencing. Turns out that Goldschmidt, after the October 7th, 2023 massacre, a dual citizen Israeli, was went to Israel and helped identify the people killed. And pictured next to him is a guy named Chen Kugel, who made all the claims about finding beheaded babies, the unsubstantiated claims, I should
Whoa.
say. So those he's standing right next to him. I'm like, you can't make this
How
stuff
could
up.
that be? Wow.
And so I want to know, does Goldschmidt think that, like, did he see decapitated babies in Israel? Is he part of that a whole psyop? And like 8 months later, he's
Well, wasn't
doing
it
the
determined that there were not actually decapitated babies? That whole woman who was asking the guy, and then when they asked her again, she wouldn't say it or something?
yeah. I mean, they've released no evidence to substantiate the claims. And yeah, this guy's buddies with our Trump shooter medical examiner, who
Unbelievable.
we already mentioned the toxicology reports, but for anybody who doesn't already know, like we've talked about this a million times, there's a controversy over how many times the shooter was shot and when. Was it the local cop who saved the day and shot him first, or was it that Secret Service sniper who didn't shoot 15 seconds later? We'll never, I think it's the local guy. I think it's clear because the shooter stopped shooting after that ninth shot from the local on the ground. But regardless, we're not going to find clear evidence because Ariel Goldschmidt released the body for cremation with fragments still in the shoulder. So, yeah, he
Wow.
mishandles toxicology, mishandles the autopsy, is like a literal IDF asset.
Well,
Yeah.
mishandles is like, oh, wait a minute.
Hey, I'm sure his people are probably watching. Some people are probably watching, so I don't want to libel a
Right.
man. I mean,
Right, right, right.
people can draw their own conclusions.
Hmm. Now, there's something else, though, too. We've got a lot more stuff to dig into here that we'll get to on the sponsor exclusive segment. People can be able to join us for that in less than 5 minutes. But wasn't there someone who was sort of dismissed from the medical examiner's office in close time
Oh,
proximity to you obtaining this report?
yeah, I don't know the significance of this, but I did notice that the scientist, I think her name's Katrina, who actually signed off on the report on page 2, that's her signature on the right side. Um, Yeah, she put up a LinkedIn saying I'm open to work, but I think she actually still might be with the Allegheny County office, so I don't know if she switched jobs. She's still listed as there, but another one of these coincidences that's worth noting.
Yeah. And Ken, what do you think, just your opinion, when I'm there in court, they've got this, Commonwealth attorney who's fighting tooth and nail to not reveal how they determined it was Thomas Crooks. I mean, isn't it pretty clearly a matter of public interest? Why would they not want us to know how they determined that the dead guy was Thomas Crooks?
The only thing I could think of is that, government bureaucrats are always going to argue against disclosure. They're going to always give you as little as possible because they don't want to set a precedent. But yeah, that's being awfully generous because this is an historically important case. And just to take a little bit of heat off those guys, they gave everything to Congress. They gave everything to Chairman Mike Kelly. And we know this because Clay Higgins released the X-ray and the partial photo of the ear. So we know they have stuff that we don't, not just the report. But Chairman Kelly says, oh, this is, quote, too gruesome to make public. And, the stuff we have isn't really gruesome at all. It's pretty technical, dry medical descriptions. So I think he's being a little disingenuous there. And even the gruesome photos, like we need that to prove whether it was Crooks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even as bad as a Quentin Tarantino movie. And we'll
Yeah.
look at that stuff. I mean, if we show it here, we're going to get banned from, I don't know, YouTube or X or whatever. But when we, just a minute from now, we're going to do this. We'll go over to substack.com/@Ken Silva, also on Crowdsource the Truth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. We'll take a look at all of that and more. We've got a lot to talk about, so stay with us, everybody. Ken Silva from Headline USA is my guest, and we'll be right back. Thanks for watching, everybody.